Hi, my name is Norman Fang, and I'm with Norman's Orchid Nursery. And today is one of our over 100 episodes. I don't know which is now, but today is one of the
114.
114. Wow.
114,
So
because all of them are now caught up.
This is our third year now. Many of you have been with us since 2020 when we have the shutdown and the nursery had to close because of COVID. But now here we are. So we actually getting, thanks to Jeff, we're getting better audio. Okay. So we're going to change the style of the podcast a little bit. We go to more focus on specific type of orchid, and we were going to take advantage of what's in bloom at Norman's Orchid in Montclair, California. And today's topic is growing the venustum, Paphiopedilum venustum album. And you can use that today's topic to apply to some of the alba form of the Paphiopedilum species. For example, Lawrenceanum album. Any of those album mystic Paphiopedilum species. Okay, so Jeff, do we have a good view of this item? Oh, don't worry. Some of this will be, I know Jamie is going to cherry pick the best one for her jumper for tomorrow on Sunday. So rest assured, I do share. Hey, I'm in the business of selling plant. We never want to keep plant as a museum. So anyway, so this will be all available tomorrow. If you like this, check out Jamie's jumper tomorrow. And we also have the mature side plant without flower available on the website orchids.com. So how many of you have grown this particular species before? The alba form? Anybody? Okay, good. If you haven't grown this species, there's two form. Jeff, can we see this? This is the regular venustum form. Okay, this is the green. The most common one. You see the leaf? It's almost like snake skin, and they're very dominant in breeding. This one here is a hybrid from venustum species. So this actually have Succocoria lawrenceanum, but 2-3 generations away from the species. But you still can tell the dominant or the marking on the hybrid. So this is why you, as an experienced grower, a lot of time when I go to the greenhouse, or sometimes if we have last label, and I can always tell this is venustum. And if this, something like this, okay, I can always trace this is, without knowing the label or type and breeding, you can always, as an educated guess, this have venustum in the background. Okay, so venustum, we also have the venustum on our website. The venustum is a species. It's actually very fascinating. This is a species. It's not from the tropical Asia. It's not from Bangkok. It's not from Indonesia. Surprising. This is actually from Assam, India. It's from the northeast Bangladesh, eastern Himalaya. At the elevation of maybe about 1,000 feet to 1,500 meters. So we always assume that all the Maldive type or the tropical type are the warm grower. No, this is actually the species, the venustum, whether it's the regular form or the alba form, can tolerate cooler night temperature. So if you have an intermediate greenhouse, that is one logic. We have our Paphiopedilum greenhouse. We have one greenhouse because every winter about November, because I do mix the complex and the Maldive together. Okay, and I do let the greenhouse to drop below 60 degrees down to 55 or even 50 for a couple of weeks to stimulate the complex. And rest assured, venosum alba or venusum species actually love it. And this is actually one species. If you think your growing environment, if you are in Pacific Northwest or Pacific Northeast, your greenhouse or your grow environment cannot be as tropical or as warm grower for Phalaenopsis that can provide a minimum night temperature of 60 degrees. So this is one species that can grow cooler at night. Okay, because they are from the eastern Himalaya and the foothill of they actually, where the fountain is actually in a very, very deep forest. They grow themselves on the top of the maybe bamboo leaf. Okay, they are semi-terrestrial, but they're not the type of orchid that grow on the rock as some other species. So this is the type that, so knowing the where they come from and how they grow in the habitat. So we don't have to really duplicate the native environment. No, that's just for reference. Most of these are all artificial propagated, meaning we are not taking away from the natural habitat. So we not depleted the native habitat. So they are artificial grown. So they actually much more weather tolerance. Okay. I want you to see, can we do a close up on the leaf, the marking? Both the alba form and the regular form. You still see, they still have that distinct marking. It's almost like one of my Bengal cat marking on the leaf. Okay, the pattern is very, very distinct. Some of the pattern maybe looks like one species, one of those snake marking on it.
Snake skin?
Snake skin, yeah. Okay, so this is one of my favorite species. Of all the Paphiopedilum species, venusum always adheres to my heart. Not just the marking on the leaf, but also on the pouch. Okay, somebody make a comment that the pouch is almost looks like Richard Hall's brand. But this is actually exactly that one of those science fiction movie. Okay, in fact, Jamie, remember many years ago when Jamie had the orchid affair in Los Angeles, and one of her clients from Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
They want to have some orchid, and they're gonna board it up. It's literally board it up, and they want some orchid is really out of the war, and this is one of the species that I give to them to use for the photo shoot, because you cannot make this up. You know, you can even make a hybrid. This is really the nature's best. Nature had the best evolution to have this pouch marking like this. Okay, so the alba form, the difference between alba form and this form is they usually prefer less light than the regular form. So if you're going under light, if you're one of Jeff's customer, under light, usually in the center, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, the center of the light is usually the brightest spot, right? Okay, so for any of your alba form species or hybrid like Maria alba form, you can actually safely put on more onto the edge of the light bulb. It's less light. So a lot of time maybe not enough light to flower, but take advantage of that difference. Okay, so the alba form, put it not in the center of the light, okay, but toward the end of the light spectrum. Okay. Secondly, here's another one. Now, when you see the difference, that both of these are venustum alba, but you notice that this one here is lighter versus this, but this is not the regular color form. Okay, I purposely brought this up here. This is the case that growing too dark. Okay, so the venustum alba, this should be nice the cabbage green, jade green alba, then this is why they're not as productive. This one should have flower, but has not. Okay, so this is the case as too dark. Okay, all right. So even though they are alba form, you want to go in on the shady side, but it also do not want to get in too dark. When I say too dark, meaning less than 800 foot candle. Okay, that's really too dark. That's why they beautiful foliage. Okay, and what happens when you burn too dark also? Notice the difference. This is actually was in front of this on the bench. When you burn too dark, the spike is too weak. Okay, so if you take a picture of all the one we have here, this is one species. If you go on the right condition, optimum light, you don't need to spike them. They are self-supporting. Okay, so this is what when you have the light like this, okay, you don't need to spike them. As a judge, the stem is 5 point. We also don't like to see the judging that people's overgroom the flower stem. I personally give up to 5 point for something like this, coming to the judging table with a self-supporting stem versus like they're trying to overstem. And this is one of the things about I love about this species. This is still in the 3, not even 4-inch pot. It's still in a 3-inch pot. Okay, and this is growing at my medium mix. They have bamboo chocolate in there, so they actually been here for over 3 years, and they're still good going. As soon as this one finished this year, I would repot them because it kind of getting out of the way. And actually, for this one, for example, I actually can either divide into 2 or leave it together and then go into a slightly bigger pot, maybe just 4-inch pot. It doesn't take a lot of space for this species, and that's a beautiful part about the Paphiopedilum venustum. They don't take a lot of space for it. Okay, and the growth cycle, they always flower at least once a year. But if you grow under light, and especially if you have heat mat on that, okay, you can actually get it to flower twice a year because you don't have a winter break on them. So this is why a combination of growing under light and also the heat mat in there, you can actually grow much better even than the commercial grower than me, because I do not have under light here. Okay, but it could be 30 years ago when I set up the nursery, the technology is not there. The light we have is what we call high sodium light. That's basically just is for the lighting to work here at night, but then really not meant to for growing. But if I will start over again, I will have redesign the greenhouse, had the new LED light on every greenhouse, so I can really control the environment. But that's a different story. But it will be really costly for the size of operation like this. But it's a lot easier for you at home. You know, think about the option to have a light stand in a house. You know, and Linda Lee will tell you, because sometimes in her area or even sunny, your areas in summertime will be really hot and high humidity and just hot and steamy. But if you have a light stand in the house with the air conditioning is very comfortable. So you actually you can actually have another paradise at home. Now, so without going to the greenhouse or step out of the door, you can actually see a lot of your orchid. And then this type of orchid is very, very ornamental to grow. And I think many of you and many of our members here are very comfortable of growing the lady slipper now, or the tropical one. You can actually very perfectly grow it next to your phalaenopsis, in particular the novelty phalaenopsis. So they are great growing companion. Okay, so They always flower on the new grow. Okay, so once this is the previous year's grow here. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit cosmetic trimming because this is once the last year, we want to make sure they are presentable. Okay, and this is true if you go into judging, a lot of orchid show are reopened now. Okay, so when you make sure before you take it to the show, this is the yellow leaf. Well, I personally do not want to take it off because they are actually part of the synthesis. They are actually putting back the nutrient back to the plant. So if it really bothers you, you can cut it off. But use a clean razor blade and to avoid infection. Usually, I just leave it alone. And when time is right, the leaf will detach from the mother stalk, and there will be no light breakage, so you don't have any light wound for portal entry for any bacterial or fungal infection on them. Okay, what about watering? Okay. The lighting is very similar to all your Phalaenopsis. Minimum 850, but no more than 1500 foot candle. Okay, but if you 850 and lower, that might be okay if you are in the really hot area in the greenhouse, right? Because summertime it's not their growing season anyway, so you want to keep them cool and shadier. But make sure by the time of the fall, give them more light because they usually flower in the springtime for the old orchid show. Perfect. Okay. Watering. Okay. Think about them this just like Phalaenopsis. They're not Cattleya. Why? They do not have a suitable or do not have an oncidium suitable to store water. They're very thin leaf. Okay. If you're not sure, go ahead and water. If you have if your temperature is hot and dry, like in Arizona or New Mexico, okay, if you're going to be on a vacation for at least 2 weeks, and nobody gonna water your plant, it's okay to let them sit in a saucer of water. Okay, 1 or 2 weeks is not gonna kill them. They actually benefit from over drying. Again, feeding. We feed everything along with the Phalaenopsis, and I use the Norman's Orchid Ultimate Orchid Nutrient. It's very, very refined. Notice that it doesn't have any tip burn on the new growth, and that's a good sign. Occasionally, you might have a tip burn on the old leaf like this, and that's okay. If you have a tip burn on the older leaf, okay, this is not from the fertilizer, but it told me at one point of the growing season, it got too dry. Okay, but if your fertilizer have a lot of coarse material, heavy metal, chlorine, every plant of your tip will have some kind of tip burn. Switch fertilizer. Switch fertilizer. You are what you eat. Okay, or you do not have good water. Okay, I was in Somas the other day, and one of my friend who's a commercial grower, he had the whole entire nursery, 5 acres, had to use RO water because inland Somas in other 118 the water is really salty. Yeah, it's even worse than here. So that tell you if you have this tip burn on one leaf, it tell me that okay, 1 point they did not get too much water. When the media is dry and the water is salinity there, the EC or electrical conductivity in the pollen media is increased, so that damage the leaf. The damage the leaf, the root, and the root. This is how plant communicate with you. So always observe your plant. Okay, and that's okay. It's not disease. Just it's a cosmetic ornamental. You can also cut it off if you go into judging, and voila. And I think this is, other than that, the feeding's the same, and they really benefit from the megathorite treatment. Everything's the same. You know, we do not segregate them because the way, just like my philosophy of orchid growing, less is more. And we do not trying to sell you 3 or 5 fertilizer and break it up into one fertilizer. The Norman's Ultimate Fertilizer also have vitamin B1 in there. It's all in there. You don't have, in the back in the 70 and early 80, they used it for fulmination called UCLA mix. You gotta do 3 times of the 30-10-10, high nitrogen, and the 4th feeding is high phosphate. And that was what we call the UCLA mix. It was designed for cymbidium orchid at the time. Those are what people grow in the 60 and 70, cymbidium. And the potting media is not moss. The potting media was redwood. You cannot get redwood anymore. So that kind of fulmination, that kind of data was tested, was recommended by the UCLA. I think, yeah, UCLA at the time do have a horticulture major. Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's what it is. So a lot of the fulmination, but you still can see this 30-10-10 and 6-30-30 on the market. Why? Because good business. This fertilizer company, they want to sell you 2 fertilizer. Okay.
So Mary is asking, she uses the fertilizer, but someone mentioned that your fertilizer has no calcium.
You don't need calcium. The calcium is in the water. Okay. Calcium cannot be mixed in any other fertilizer because they will become a pancake. It will become a cake. That's a chemistry. Okay. But you do not need that much calcium. A lot of our water, domestic water, we use tap water here. Get the report from your city water company and read it. They do have calcium in there. You do not want over calcium. If calcium is in your water already, especially in the west coast, west of Mississippi, Denver. Remember all the water from California in the summertime? They're all from Denver, even from Colorado. The purest water you can find. By the time they go through all the rock, the stone, Arizona, New Mexico, they pick up all the calcium already. So if you want to add more calcium, you're going to do a calcium toxic on them. So don't always believe what you read on the internet, because that's why on many of the podcasts I've always asked you before, if you use well water, do a testing on your well water report. You want to pay attention to your micronutrient, because a lot of times you might have a lot of micronutrient on magnesium, all this micronutrient. You don't need a lot, but too many of the 2 good things. People have got toxic from overtaking vitamin. Remember? Same theory. Okay, so don't worry. If Norman is going to use this on all his orchid and I'm making living, growing orchid as a living, the end of the topic. Okay? All right? Any more question? Okay, so if you, this type of species, okay, try not to grow in, they do not like to grow in 100% moss, and I do not grow in the moss to begin with because they like alkaline potting media, which means the pH of the potting media is 7.0 or higher, and this is why the bark is primary choice. I do not like the new kiwi bark. The kiwi bark is very good for if you go outdoor and living in Hawaii or Miami, because kiwi bark is hard. It doesn't break down. Okay, so when you go in kiwi bark as a potting media, and if you are living in Arizona or really dry area, you're gonna have a problem because you cannot water enough. Okay, so we always, that's why after since the business in '86, and I've been growing orchids since '78 in California. Always Douglas fir bark, which is abundant. abandoned in Oregon, in Western USA. The new, after the COVID, with the shipping, global shipping the container, some of the, if you source, we try to make all our product domestic in USA, because I heard, even some of the imported bark, the moss is skyrocketed. Yeah. So this is why I use, you can actually go to our website at the support section. I sell two type of grade of bark mix, okay? The medium sized bark, and for Paphiopedilum, all the Paphiopedilum, you use a fine mix. Fine mix is very good for Paph, any 4-inch or under. Anything of Lady Stepper, Cattleya is fine with them. And they also have perlite. We also use the bamboo charcoal in there. That's very essential because bamboo charcoal will absorb any toxic element out of the potting mix, and it really add 1 more year to any potting media. Okay, so feeding we use temperature analysis, the lighting and the lights the same, feeding the same, and really just enjoy what this species had to offer, even without the flower. It's just gorgeous. Can you imagine? I see a lot of people post the light stand. So I see some people start mixing the Mountain type, the variegated leaf, next to the Phalaenopsis, and that's beautiful. So when the Phalaenopsis, so it's give you a very nice visual impact under your light stand or windowsill. And if you go under windowsill, move in the summertime, move away from the window because that's when it got hot. Okay, and that's what the resting period. Then after flower, when they finish flower, is usually the time to repot them, and that is also the time for them to have new growth. So this is perfect example. We purposely leave this one here. Sometimes we have too many plants, and after the flower, it's time to do some house cleaning, because that's when all the old leaf, it might harbor some old insect or fungi.
These would be repotted every few years?
Repotted every 2-3 years. Usually my mix. Okay. And because remember we also use Physan once a month. The Physan solution also slow down the decompose of the orchid bark. But please do not use organic fertilizer. Do not use fish or kale. Okay, this is what we call organic. Okay, some people like kale.
Kelp.
What?
Kelp.
Kelp, yeah, or kale. They're inconsistent. Are they from the seaweed from Mexico Bay, from the cold water of Norway? Every batch is different, so you're not going to get the same result. And the worst part is any of this organic, even fish, fish, whatever smell in the house, is organic. They're going to increase, they're going to faster decompose of your potting media. And in the process of decompose of your potting media, they're going to invite fungi. So you're actually not doing user a favor. Okay, that kind of stuff is okay if you will use in your organic garden, the vegetable garden, but they were outside. They're outside. There's lots of beneficial fungi out there to suppress or promote or whatever. There's an ecological balance in there. But in the house, in the greenhouse, under light, in the house, you actually will cause more trouble for yourself in the long term. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And you recommend Mega Thrive with it?
Yes, Mega Thrive is everything the same. Okay, so basically for this species, the light. Okay, the light, the alba form do not like as much light as the regular color form, but they still want more than 800 foot candle. Okay. Secondly, the water. When in doubt, go ahead and water them, especially in the summertime when it's hot. Okay. Feeding, less is more. Do not do everything together with the rest of your orchid, the schedule. I never like to have, if I had to give one particular species or one particular hybrid because I had to make it happen. I have over 20 greenhouses, over 1 acres of greenhouse. We just cannot temper that specific of one. That's just two princess for me. Okay, so yes, okay, all right.
What about?
That's it.
There's another question.
Yes.
It says, what do you think about earthworm tea?
Who?
Earthworm tea.
I'm trying to drink coffee. You told me earthworm tea. No, that's organic. It's just as bad as some of the horse manure tea that was very popular in the East Coast some time ago. Earthworm tea also is a poo-poo from the earthworm. It decomposes. You're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. Use it. I wouldn't even use it on my vegetable. Okay. Don't, please, don't. Do use it for, don't. Anything that is out of ordinary. Major common sense. Think about would you drink yourself? Would you feed your dog?
So basically, the only thing that you use is everything you recommend. All the products that are here on the shelf that you're recommending is what you use in your all the greenhouses.
I've been growing
regime
orchids since I was 6 years old, and I think there's some people always have to be creative. Do not change your growing habit because you read something new on the internet thread.
Hey, Norman.
Okay, but if you want to do something new, try on couple plant, but don't do it on your entire collection. I've seen people kill all their camellia, 300 of them, because the salesperson at the big box store tell them to use the walk-on bark for the camellia, and that walk-on bark has the herbicide on there, and they
I
kill
have
all the
people
camellia.
ask me, what about beer? What about tea leaf? What about eggshells? What about all that stuff? You know,
Well,
just all I could say is
Beer.
beer is when you have a party.
Beer
and
is
it's
only
stale.
when you have snail problem. Yeah, that might work, but
Not to,
don't,
no, they were talking about watering with beer.
Oh, don't waste it.
don't waste it. Beer is not cheap anymore.
I use beer to
Don't-
cook
don't
the hot
waste it.
dog.
Oh, don't even use wine. You're gonna invite
Was it
ant
ants?
to
Beer
your
is minor
house.
for drinking.
What I'm trying to say
And
is,
by the way,
you know,
beer have the what's that enzyme or the
Yeast.
yeast. Hello, that's another organic. Like it's gonna help you speed up decompose all your polymelia. It may not-
I'm only saying this is just like there's going to be a lot of stuff on the internet. So do you really want to chance your orchids and trying all this stuff?
and
Well, if
who
you
knows?
do,
It's
let
those
me
those
know.
people are expert too.
Yeah. So my recommendation is follow whoever. Like I obviously follow this guy over here.
In your
His name is
group
Norman.
and some,
Or
many
whoever,
of our
but,
group with Sunny, very good season.
Yeah.
Linda,
Linda Leor,
Linda
John C.
Leor,
Harper's
Donna
getting up
Richard,
there.
or find somebody even in our group that it live in your area. Okay, with the Pacific Northwest, Florida,
all
Georgia.
that stuff.
Okay, and be friend with them. Okay, and ask them. I'll just simply ask a question in our group. Okay, but join or you can join the local orchid society. That the orchid society have a group of people that have a similar growing environment as you are. So,
But the one thing I think everybody should keep in mind is out of the 20 greenhouses, you probably, I don't know how many thousands of flowers come out of here a year. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, however you want to say it. And the only products that you use are the products that are seen right here. You're not using anything different. So if
we're
you
not even in
can't
the business
grow,
of selling fertilizer. To begin to tell you the truth,
yeah, there's no point
I'm not in
trying
the business
anything
of
else.
selling fertilizer, but people always want to know what I use. And I was back in the '80s. I was really tired of this 30-10, 10 and 630, which was popular at that time. But in starting the '80s, people start growing more than just Cymbidium. We grow Cattleya. We saw the late '70s, the '80s, the importation of this lady type from Asia coming in. Then we have the Phalaenopsis species coming from Philippines. So people are not just growing Cymbidium anymore. And the collection of the as orchid grower, not just the DuPont family, the rich and famous who can afford it, is average Joe. I remember one of my first mentor in orchid judging at Pacific South. Bless his heart, he passed away. But you know where he got his first orchid? One of those bag orchid, baby orchid, from Sears, and he pays $2 for it, and that's how he got his started. So it doesn't need to have a lot of effort now. It's equal opportunity. We all can afford to do this. And my philosophy always make it simple and make it offer the best quality, reasonable and affordable to everybody. I'm not in the business to sell, really expensive stuff. No, we use it. Sometimes we acquire that kind of plant for breeding. We use it for breeding, so we always trying to get the best gene pool. Okay, if anybody asks you what's the number for this one here, if you want to buy plant, okay, this is the information here. It's NF79, and the parentage is one of the parent I got from the Paph parent. They call Green Zone, is what I got from Orchid Zone. They're no longer in business, but we had a gene pool. Thank goodness I have a gene pool. So we always try to get the label is everything. The label tells you the pedigree of the breeding. When you buy your golden retriever, you want to get it from the best breeder that do not have a lot of inbreeding problem, like going to end up result your dog or your pet to have genetic problem. Same thing with orchid. Okay, this is why the label is everything. And on our website, we spend a lot of time, myself and Richard Hall helped me. We write a lot of description, sometimes a history of the breeding background and the story that how I got involved and that kind of stuff. A lot of history. So when you're online, go read the description on the website. If the description is there, or if you find any mistake, let me know. I'll send Karen an email as support. If we mispronounce or make a boo-boo on the description or misspell, let me know, okay?
So parent